Topeka City Council meeting will come to order. If you would please rise and give your attention to Deputy Mayor Cohen for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. Scott Perkins was born and raised in Topeka. He's the host and producer of the Country Parson and Little Miss radio program, heard on 94.5 Country for the past 17 years. It's the most listened to Sunday morning program in Northeast Kansas, and he's also the current pastor of Heritage Country Cowboy Church. Welcome, Scott Perkins.
Thank you. I want to say that I am a third-generation Topekan, and what you guys decide affect me and my family. I lost my great-grandmother in the Topeka tornado in 1966, so I've been around a while, and I thank you for what you do as you serve here. Let's pray. Lord Jesus, we thank you for today. We thank you for your love and your grace. I pray, Father God, that your hand would be upon this council and the people that are in this room. I pray, Father God, that decisions that are made will glorify you and affect this city in a positive way. Lord, help us to remember that you love us just the way that we are, but you love us too much to keep us that way. And just like Charles Sheldon Book, in his steps, we choose to follow you. We thank you, Father, in Jesus' name. Everybody said, amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is late July, and we have a proclamation that is one of the traditional ones we do each time of the year, and that pertains to National Night Out. Now, most everyone in Topeka is certainly aware of National Night Out, and we want to celebrate it, acknowledge it, and tell everyone about it in advance. A part of that is the law enforcement, very important, and it's vital that they are here and a part of this. We have a proclamation that I will read. Whereas the National Association of Town Watch sponsors a unique nationwide crime, drug, and violence prevention program on August 5, 2017, entitled National Night Out. And whereas the 34th Annual National Night Out provides a unique opportunity for Topeka, Shawnee County to join forces with thousands of other communities across the country in promoting cooperative police community crime prevention efforts. And whereas Safe Streets plays a vital role in assisting the Topeka Police Department, the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office, and the Shawnee County District Attorney's Office through joint crime, drug, and violence prevention efforts in Topeka, Shawnee County, and is supporting National Night Out 2017. And whereas it is essential that all citizens of Topeka, Shawnee County be aware of the importance of crime prevention programs and the impact that their participation can have on reducing crime, drugs, and violence in Topeka, Shawnee County. And whereas police community partnerships, neighborhood safety, awareness, and cooperative efforts are important themes of the National Night Out program. Now, therefore, I, Larry Walgass, Mayor of the City, do hereby proclaim Saturday, August 5, 2017, as National Night Out. Don't come out on Sunday, it's Saturday. And with me here is Christy Pangratz and Judy Wilson of Safe Streets, and if you would tell us a little bit about it and the event on that Saturday.
Well, on Saturday, August 5th, we have 86 different neighborhoods so far throughout Shawnee County who are having basically block parties to get to know each other, to get to know law enforcement. The idea is that if you get to know your neighbor, you can take a step in prevention against crime.
Thank you. Thank you. And we look forward. This is one of the largest in the countries, in the United States.
We are actually ranked number 7th in the nation, and that's due to the support of you guys, the sheriff in the back, the district attorney, and we have some wonderful neighborhoods who are here today representing. Could I have them stand up?
Vital, this is vital. All the neighborhood participants, this is what makes a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. And City Manager, we have a presentation, if you would like to proceed with that introduction.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. It's a bit of a running joke among staff that when Mr. Finder gets up to give a presentation, I steal his thunder, so I'm going to try not to do that. I'll ask him to come forward and talk about the Futures 2040, which is a look 23 years into the future, started last year, so 24 years into the future, and look at multimodal transportation in the city of Topeka. And with that, I'll let Bill take over.
Good evening. Thank you, Interim City Manager. That was just the right amount of thunder. We are, yes, as he indicated, we are trying to give you a kind of a wrap-up review of this recently adopted document, which is really important to our region. And for those of you who know, the Futures 2040 is our official Topeka regional transportation plan. There we go. And what we do is we do this every 5 years. It's actually a mandated thing by the federal government, which is that's okay because we get some things out of it. It's a good thing to do. Not only do we qualify ourselves for federal transportation dollars by doing it, and among other things, but we get a plan that the community gets or has had a voice in, and ultimately our partners then use the plan to make decisions on projects that you all do. So our partners are, of course, the City of Topeka, Shawnee County, TMTA, Transit Authority, KDOT, as well as Federal Highways. So between those partners, we took a 200-some page, almost 200, and condensed it into about 4 pages for you tonight of slides. So that was the first trick. The public, probably the most critical part of this, and I would say the best part of this, was our public engagement. And that's not me being biased as much as what other people have told me through the years. We had a tremendous engagement, 950 public contacts made that represented a really good reflective cross-section geographically, demographically of the community. Our survey, for instance, had 775 participants. We got close to a lot of our citywide cross-section demographic numbers. One thing we did exceed was we had 4 times the rate of response from our younger millennial age cohort, 22 to 34 years old, than we do represent in the city. So we have a lot of younger, I guess, voices in this, which is good, because it's a future plan. This is going to be their future, and they're the ones that are going to live and work and play here. No surprise, the themes coming out of the public input ranked maintenance of our existing infrastructure, number 1 by far. And that falls right in line, builds right on top of our land use and growth management plan, where we are prioritizing, investing where we are, and reinvesting in the services that we currently have. So that is a no surprise probably to you or to us, but it was very overwhelming. And we'll close behind that was actually improving our mobility and access, which is our transportation choices, our pedestrian, our bicycling, our transit. And then lastly, safety was also a top theme. So that input led to 2 big shifts from the last plan, which we did 5 years ago. The number 1 kind of new direction that we had out of this was a shift from capacity road projects to preservation road projects. Capacity projects would be anything where we're adding new lanes or new roads. We're going, for instance, 17th Street out at behind Lowe's, connecting Arvonia to Urish. That wasn't there 10 years ago. When you add that road, that's a new capacity road. That's new. If you go from 3 lanes to 5 lanes on any road, that is a capacity addition. So a very big shift went from capacity, those types of projects, to one of preservation, which you have seen Jason Peak's great presentations, and you all are very well versed in the CPI, or the PCI. You also have CPI, but PCI as well. The pavement condition index, and you've got, you know how much it's going to take to get to that 60 goal on the index. So you're well versed in that. The community spoke loudly about that being a priority. And it's reflected in the plan's project dollars. There's a lot of dollars over the next 23 years, but from the last plan to this plan, preservation projects went up 311% in terms of dollars that should be spent on those types of projects. It went, and the capacity projects went down about 52%. So now you have almost for every dollar of capacity projects, you're spending about 10 on preservation, which is kind of where the plan has recommended for the future funding. So that is a significant shift, and I think something that, again, flows from what you've been seeing and what you've been supporting here the last year or two. The second new direction came out of the engagement was really emphasizing the active transportation, multimodal, as we also call it, pedestrian, bike, transit related modes. Again, we're implementing the pedestrian master plan that you've adopted. Transit is working towards a 100% goal for ADA accessible bus shelters, as well as stepping up their efforts to provide service to the South Topeka workforce. City Counties is going to be working on engineering standards for complete streets. So take it from a policy and ingrain it into when we design a street. These are the standards, and they're not left open to subjectivity, and that includes the county. The county's on board to do that as well, which is great. And then lastly, we also want to take a new direction with our bikeways that you saw a couple weeks ago with our TA grants, do more low-stress networks where you have more protected and separated lanes on the network. The funding change from the last plan is not a, I did check, that's not an extra zero there. It's 1,000% increase in transportation funds for those types of projects that is being recommended. So it is it's going from about $2.5 million in a 23-year period to about $27 million. So it's significant, but it reflects the course you have started on with the pedestrian and bike way improvements. So a continuation of that. That all being said, there are some bigger, I guess, projects that came, recommendations that come out that I should just touch on while I have this chance. Even though we're not doing a lot of capacity, there are some significant capacity issues, particularly on the freeway side, that you should know about that came out of the plan. The most notable, Polk Quincy Viaduct, I-70 replacement there through downtown. That's been obviously been around for a little bit as a project. With the uncertainty in funding from the state level, the recommendation from the state and this plan, which would have would commit the funding for what we call the west segment, that is, or phase 1. That's everything from McVicker to 5th Street, I believe, on I-70, would replace the viaduct. That is about $224 million over, and we're projecting in between 2020 2022 and 2030, still a large range. But that project definitely can be committed to with the known funding levels. What couldn't be committed to was the, I guess would be phase 2. That's the east segment right now. We put that on what we call the illustrative list. It's not committed to funding. But when we come back in 5 years, we take a look at that again and see if the state has adopted more transportation dollars to fit that in. Okay, a couple other freeway capacity recommendations, a couple capacity studies, or actually one major one that we want to look at. When we talk about Topeka, we don't really talk congestion a whole lot. It's not really a congested regionally type of network that maybe some larger metros have. But we do foresee on the horizon with just naturalized growth and our growth occurring more in the city, that we do see I-70 west of McVicker to 470, and then also Highway 75. That area, it shows up red on that map there. It's one of the few ones that stick out. And so when we project our growth over these years, we know something's going to have to be done, probably going from a 2-lane to a 3-lane throughway between there and 75. So that's one study. KTA interchange at 29th, that is, we've talked about that in the past. We did not, the plan does not recommend funding or a commitment to funding beyond what there is right now. So that's also on our illustrative list. The project is about a 16 to 23 million estimated project. So because of that, the cost is not really something that one entity can bear without other revenue sources. And so what we recommended is to move that up in terms of initiating some preliminary engineering on it in 2019. I think that's what we're going to try to do. Probably talk more about it in the next CIP cycle. So we want to get more shovel ready so that we can go seek other sources for funding that may not be just solely dependent on GEO bonds or the KTA revenues, which by itself is just a big bite to take. So we're looking at other funding, but we got to get it to a shovel ready state. And then just kind of lastly, a few other recommendations just so you would want or may want to know about that are going on. KTA toll plazas in the next few years will be their operational side will be completely updated at the east as well as the south toll plaza. It's about 38 million in both of those invested. We need to get Arvonia onto our radar in the not too distant future to go from 3 to 5 lanes between Winding and 17th and complete the improvements that we've started out there. A lot of traffic safety, a lot of intersection work that needs to be done. That's not so much specified in the plan as much as it'll be Jason's task to then take that and work on priority intersection and safety projects and bring those to you over the next few years. And then there's a Great Streets recommendation coming out of this. Really, we did hear, even though it was all about maintaining and preserving the network, we did hear we need to look better. We need to be more proud of some of our corridors, our entryways, and even with streetscape. So identify some special projects, street projects, and take them kind of to the next level than just being a street and want something for transportation. So whether it's art, whether it's landscaping, whether it's any type of special treatment, lighting, just focus on that and spend a few more dollars on some of those selected projects as we go forward. So to remind you, so that's pretty much it. To remind you, this has been passed by the MDPO, moved on to KDOT and Federal Highways for acceptance. We see no reason why they wouldn't accept it, but by their accepting, we now can take on federal transportation dollars, so that's a good thing. So
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Good presentation of 200 pages. Everything we need to know is, thank you.
I didn't think you'd want
We appreciate
version, yeah.
this version.
Yeah.
And I think this is exciting always as we look in 5 years, 7 years, 20 years out with a possibility. Any other discussion, comments? Councilwoman Ortiz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page 4, is there any talk with JETO about the transit for the South Topeka workforce?
Councilwoman Ortiz, I know from talking with, yeah, that was emphasized in here, from talking with Susan Duffy, they will be coming, yes, they are, and I think they'll be being more public about ramping up their efforts to find a way to provide that service down there. So
But is that the Metro, though? I'm talking about JETO. And the only reason why I say that, I know this has just been a conversation for years and years and years, and it's a much-needed transportation. And I know Metro's talked about getting shorter, smaller buses or vans or whatever, but, you know, we've done a lot of talking, but we really need to put some oomph in it. And so that's why I was just wondering, has there been any discussion with JETO and some monies there?
I think there has been, and I don't want to steal somebody else's thunder, but I think you will be seeing something pretty soon to ramp that up, to get more serious about it.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments? Councilman Hiller?
Thank you, or a comment, and then I want to ask you a question to draw out for the council. First, I had the privilege of chairing the MTPO this year, and I've never seen a process as massive and as detailed. He really did distill well, and I just want to give credit to the staff, to the, there's a TAC, a technical advisory group that's all the city and the county and the state and federal highway people that literally wordsmithed every word of that 200 pages. It was amazing to watch the input and then the revisions, and I just want to compliment, and certainly the MPO was there through the whole way as well. I want to compliment everyone involved. The one question I wanted to ask you so you could draw it out for the council is on page 3, you mentioned capacity projects versus preservation projects, and the example you gave was going from 3 lanes to 5. Would you tell the council where what we've been doing lately, which is taking 2 lanes and going to 3, fits in that?
Thank you for reminding me, Councilwoman Hiller. We're doing a lot of 10th Street, 6th Street, California, going from 2 lanes to 3 lanes. That is not considered capacity. That is actually mostly preservation, but also probably a third safety. So you're not adding extra lane miles or through travel lanes. You're adding a center turn lane, basically, and that's really more for safety reasons. And so we don't count those as capacity. Those are preservation and safety. And so those count in the preservation bucket more than the capacity would be, just if that helps.
Thank
good,
you.
yes.
I mean, the numbers are all so big, maybe it would have just go by people, but it was interesting to me to learn that they were, so it wasn't just that capacity building was the only place you'd find those expansion and enhancement projects that we're doing. They're in there.
Good. Other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation, Bill. We will then proceed with the roll call.
Council members Hiller.
Here.
Clear. Here. Ortiz. Here. Emerson.
Here.
De La Isla. Here. Jensen.
Present.
Schwartz. Here. Cohen.
Here.
Harmon. Here. Mayor Wolgath.
Here. And council members, you received a memo earlier today, and there's a copy at your place pertaining to our special meeting on this Saturday. And and in looking at this, we see the possibility of suspending rules related to televising because we're only going to be functioning in an executive session during the day. And to not have to have our television crew come there, film us going into executive session, and even staying there the entire day to watch us come out does not make very much sense. So I'd like the city attorney that we need to take this as an action item tonight. So if you would speak to that and where we can place this on the agenda.
Correct, Mayor. The city clerk has the motion to suspend Rule 210. It's in the council rules. There's no requirement in COMA that meetings be televised. It's just in our council rules. To the extent it doesn't make logical sense to televise a meeting, which it probably wouldn't in this case, because as I understand it, the meeting could go from 7:30 a.m. into the evening. So it was brought to my attention that perhaps we should consider suspending the council rules so as City 4 crew could maybe skip this one.
So it's a recommendation this be added to as action item G.
Correct,
on the
5G.
5G on the agenda. And since it is unique, I think it would be preferable to have a motion to do so, and that we would, Councilman Jensen moves, Councilman Schwartz seconds, that we add this item to the agenda as item 5G. Any discussion? Councilman Jensen?
Thank you, Your Honor. So I see here in the notes that there are actually 3 rules we need to suspend. Is the motion to suspend all 3 rules?
Yes, I think we would take up the items
Excellent.
on the memorandum. Isn't that?
Correct. Mayor, the other rule is to excuse the city manager. There's a charter ordinance actually on this one and Council Rule 2.5B. They both require the city manager to attend all governing body meetings with the exception of when the council or governing body wishes to excuse them for one reason or the other. And because the interim city manager is part of the panel of candidates for tomorrow, I thought that might be appropriate.
Okay. So it's sort of a clean up things, putting some things together that will make us function better. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of adding this item to the agenda, vote yes. Opposed, vote no.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the item is added. And there is no executive session tonight, so we'll proceed with the consent agenda.
Oh, that's right.
We didn't
Sorry,
read it.
Mayor.
I'm sorry, I just realized by rules, we have to read anything that we are adding, and we did not have the clerk read it. If you
And
would.
Mayor, she's going to actually add, if it's okay with you, 5H is the motion to excuse, if that's okay.
All right.
Item 5H,
Oh,
unless you
okay.
want them both in 5G.
Okay, yeah, that would be best, probably to
Okay.
make them separate.
She'll go ahead and read them then.
Okay, if you'd read those.
G will be a motion to suspend Governing Body Rule 2.10, which requires the governing body meetings be televised for purposes of providing City 4 staff members the ability to leave the LEC once the governing body goes into executive session. H will be the motion to excuse the city manager from the July 22nd special meeting as provided by and in accordance with Charter Ordinance A255 and Council Rule 2.5B.
All right, now,
You didn't do roll call.
I think we will now vote. We have moved to approve those, add those 2 items to the agenda by Councilman Jensen, approved, seconded by Councilwoman Schwartz. All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
It's not ready. Yeah, hold on just a second.
I'm sorry, we're not
okay.
quite ready.
There you go. Okay. Yes.
Thank you. Having 10 having voted yes, the items are added to the agenda. We'll then proceed with the consent agenda.
A is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Karen Hiller approving a special event known as the 2017 Capital City Jazz and Food Truck Festival. B is a resolution introduced by Interim City Manager Doug Gerber granting various neighborhood organizations exceptions to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 at seat concerning noise prohibitions. C is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Jeff Cohen granting Specs Bar and Grill an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 at seat concerning noise prohibitions. D is an ordinance introduced by Interim City Manager Doug Gerber allowing and approving city expenditures for the period of May 27th, 2017 through June 30th, 2017, and enumerating expenditures therein. E is minutes of the regular meeting of July 11, 2017, and there are no applications this evening.
That is a consent agenda. Your pleasure. Councilman Jensen moves to approve. Councilwoman Claire seconds. There is no discussion. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, consent agenda is approved. We go to the action items. 5A is a resolution.
A is a resolution introduced by interim city manager Doug Gerber relating to the lease purchase of self-contained breathing apparatus for the Topeka Fire Department.
Yes, Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. This is a pretty straightforward lease that you've seen examples of before, but very specifically, if you approve this evening, it would authorize me to enter into a lease purchase agreement with U.S. Bank Corp. To purchase some SCBAs, some self-contained breathing apparatus for the fire department. It would include 5 yearly payments of approximately $195,000. That is principal plus interest. This agreement complies with Kansas cash basis law. And with that, I would stand for questions. I would say if there are technical questions, there's a group of fire department staff, particularly Acting Shift Commander Eric Bauer, who are eager to answer any of your questions.
And this was in the CIP.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yes,
That
this
it
was in the
was.
last.
So we approved it to be part of the
in a
CIP.
sense,
Now we
approved
are
this.
taking action to actually
To formalize the agreement, yes.
formalize the agreement. Councilman DeLisa is moved to approve. Deputy Mayor Cohen seconds. Any discussion? Councilwoman Claire?
Can you remind me how many this is and how much they are a piece? Do I have that and just didn't see it?
No pricing on it, there's quantity.
They're on the,
Yeah, Councilwoman, the quantity is in your packet. Exhibit A talks about the property description, and it kind of breaks it down by
There's 125?
125 for the SCBA package. In terms of quantity, I guess I don't see that, and I don't know the answer.
And this is something that all firefighters have, or and this is what, replacing some as they wear out? Yeah, maybe we...
Mr. Mayor, if I could have Acting Shift Commander Bauer come forward, he can answer these very technical questions.
Maybe give us the quick overview of the self-contained breathing apparatus.
Exactly. How are we doing this evening? Basically, the thing that you're talking about, the 125, is the total SCBA package with the cylinder, the accountability software, the telemetry, and then also the A2 software that will go with our new radios and interface with them.
How long do they last?
The air packs itself,
Just like
what we have right now is 600 hours of unserviceable stuff. So if something happens, and to use that 600 hours of time, it would take about 67 minutes a week for 10 years. So we'd never really go out of the warranty under this process. That's why we went with it.
Okay, thank you.
And this is the big pack they wear on their back that we always see, which is a breathing
Exactly, with the mask and everything.
mask and all. Right.
But we have the new integrated software that's for accountability, so as a chief officer, I can control everybody's air pack as far as reading how much air is in their air pack. I can evacuate everybody on the fire ground. If I know somebody's low on air, I can push a button and I can evacuate that one person.
Okay,
But it'll be two because it's 2 in, 2 out.
Could you not do that before?
We had that process. I had the capabilities, but we never implemented in our fire department. And I am in the process of writing the SOG for that now.
Okay. Councilwoman Ortiz?
Yes, did you say 125? Mm-hmm. Because that doesn't replace all of them at 125.
Well, we have 4 packs assigned to each 18 companies. We carry some that, I leave some for our training department. We have some in reserve in case of repairs or something like that. We are an in-house repair center. So in order for us to be the in-house repair center, we all have to be certified, and that has to do with those 8 techs that are on there. So I try to get 2 techs per shift as far as for FMLA and vacation so that I can bring somebody else in. Only 3 of them get paid for the contract. And so basically that's why we're doing the 8. So the air packs, It will give us some spares, and then each chief car has one. Our hazmat team has them, and then we have some escape packs, they call them, and they're for confined space and trench rescue.
So this will cover everybody then?
Not personally a member, it will cover 4 per unit on each truck, and then we will have some spares. Everybody will get their own individual face piece, and they are actually coming the 24th, 25th, and 26th of this month to come measure everybody to see what size face piece they need and nose cup size. And MSA is coming in to do that.
So would it be safe to say everybody that's working will have an air pack, is what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you're not working, then you don't need one, so everybody would be covered that's working?
They will be specifically assigned to a seat on the truck with this new accountability system we have. It is going to be seat-specific, captain, lieutenant, AO, and firefighter, because the radios are going to be linked to them. So when they go on air, that radio is going to be Bluetooth.
Thank you for explaining it that way, because I went to 101 Ops, and got me a fire hat, and going through that, and if that training comes around again, everybody should go. And I tell you why. Mr. Akla was in there, and that came off. And our equipment for our firefighters is terrible. We've got a long way to catch up. And
it's on its way with your approval today.
And it's really, if I may finish my comments, and it's really sad that we have to have in-house firefighters that fix these. That's really sad, because I just think we have to do better. And thank you. Thank you.
Comment on that part of the in-house, please?
Certainly.
I would like to tell you a little bit about the in-house. To in-house service, they are serviced every year.
I understand that.
To do that out, it's $85 an air pack.
Okay, very good. Did you have a question, Councilman Hiller?
Thank you. I did. I think it's largely answered. So what we're doing is buying 100% new. We'll just get rid of everything we have?
Yeah, we'll put that out for surplus and see if anybody wants to bid it. I know there's a place in K-State that gives equipment to different areas of departments that don't have it. The deal with ours is our air pack cylinders are going to be out of date in 2 years, so they would have 2 years of life, and then they're going to have to be destroyed.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution for the purchase. All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the resolution for purchase is approved. Go to item B, an ordinance zoning.
B is an ordinance introduced by interim city manager Doug Gerber, amending the district map referred to and made a part of the zoning ordinance by section 1850-050 of the Topeka Municipal Code by providing for certain changes in zoning on property located southeast of the intersection of Northwest Topeka Boulevard and Northwest Menninger Road in the form of amendment to the Woodland Park at Soldier Creek Planned Unit Development Master Plan and comprising revision H.
Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Both items 5B and 5C are coming to you from the Planning Commission, and so since you've not heard these items discussed before, I'm going to have Mr. Finder come forward and give you a brief overview.
Thank you. Good evening once again. The proposal tonight on this item is a change in zoning for PUD at North Topeka Boulevard and Menninger Road, right on the edge of our city limits. This is a 6-acre site. The current zoning allows for a little more intensity of multiple family apartments, assisted and independent living. The proposal as a part of this change would only allow single and two-family or duplexes on this 6-acre site. So it is a bit of a down zoning, but does fit our comprehensive plan for the area. It is probably a couple aspects that you should just be aware of. The road itself in the development will be privately maintained. There's a road there that is private right now. They have asked for that, so adoption of this tonight would not add any more streets to our inventory to maintain. And I think the streets will be built according to city standard, and you won't even really see the difference. You'll have sidewalks. It's just that the right-of-way itself is not as great, and some utility easements are placed out of the right-of-way, and that helps them fit their potential duplexes on the site as well. So there's a total of 19 lots, so up to 38 units could be built here. They are, as I said, they would be required to have, if not an HOA, some legal entity to, again, as part of this, to maintain in perpetuity, not only the streets, but the stormwater detention facility that's to the south here. The only condition that kind of came up as an issue is we are going to require what we call a unit plan be submitted prior to any building going on out here, and that will just assure that there's a compatible mix of single and two family. We are trying to avoid having the duplexes and single family built right across from each other. So they want to remain flexible. We want to honor that flexibility, but at the time they're ready to build and the market comes to bear, they'll submit a little more specific unit plan. So with that in mind, the Planning Commission did recommend approval. Staff is recommending approval as well. So,
All right, are there questions on the plan? This is the zoning aspect comes from that we actually we are approving the Planning Commission recommendations, like our action. Councilwoman Claire.
I would move to approve.
It's been moved to approve. Councilwoman Delisla seconds to approve the ordinance for the PUD. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the ordinance for the PUD is approved. We go to item C, the final plat on this.
C is a final plat for Woodland Park at Soldier Creek Subdivision Number 3 on property located southeast of the intersection of Northwest Topeka Boulevard and Northwest Menninger Road.
Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I think Mr. Finder gave a nice overview, but I'm sure he's still available for questions as you might need.
Questions? This is setting then what the approving the plat or what the layout is will be. Any discussions? Councilwoman Claire.
Move to
happens
approve.
Be in your district.
Yep,
You move to approve. Deputy Mayor Cohen seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the final plat is approved. We go to item D, an ordinance.
D is an ordinance introduced by interim city manager Doug Gerber concerning employees, the personnel code, departments created and established positions, amending, repealing, and renumbering several chapters entitled to Administration and Personnel of the Topeka Municipal Code.
Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. As the body is aware, navigating our code can be a complex endeavor, even for our attorneys on staff. And so one of the things that Lisa and her staff have tried to do is go through what we're just calling a code cleanup process. It will make things easier for ourselves internally, but also externally for folks who need to view our code. With that in mind, we have a number of revisions that we'd like to suggest, but we're not suggesting we take those up tonight. What we're suggesting, in fact, is that we're asking this body to refer both item 5D and 5E to the Policy and Finance Committee for review. We have reached out to the Policy and Finance Committee, and they seem amenable to that. And so after they review our suggested changes, then we would, of course, bring those back to the body for further consideration.
So they go into more detail and whatever.
Yes.
And the members of that Policy and Finance Committee are Councilman Harmon, I believe, Councilman Emerson,
Yes, sir.
I think,
And
Brendan Jensen.
another
Jensen.
one to be named, someone to be named. All right. Yes, Councilman Harmon.
And thank you, Your Honor. I'd make a motion to refer this matter to the Policy and Finance committee for discussion.
Okay, and Councilman De La Isla has second. Any discussion? Councilman Hiller?
I'd like to request that when it goes to the committee and then comes on to us, if there could be a before and after organizational chart with that, I think it would be helpful.
Sure.
Or at least between this one and this one may not be changing, but the utility one is. So we could, I may be ahead of myself, but another chart would be helpful.
Any discussion on this ordinance? Seeing none, this is the move to refer it to Policy and Finance Committee. All in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
And having voted yes, the ordinance is referred. Item E, the clerk would read.
E is an ordinance introduced by interim city manager Doug Gerber concerning the organization of the Utilities Department, adding a new section and amending and repealing several original sections of Title 13 Utilities of the Topeka Municipal Code.
Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Same description as the previous item. This one in particular relates some changes that are required by the Environmental Protection Agency for our utilities department.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd make another motion to refer this to Policy and Finance.
Councilman Harmon's moved to refer it to the Policy and Finance Committee. Councilman Clare seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
Councilmember Ortiz? We have 10 yes.
And having voted yes, the ordinance is referred. Go to item F. Notice of public hearing.
F is discussion and overview of the City of Topeka 2018 Consolidated Annual Action Plan and establishing a public hearing date of August 8, 2017 for the purpose of obtaining public input on the 2018 City of Topeka Consolidated Annual Action Plan.
Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. As the body is aware, we receive significant funding every year from HUD at the federal level. With that comes a requirement to create a consolidated action plan. Because we're combining items tonight and actually having discussion and action, I'll ask Ms. Hahn, Director of Neighborhood Relations, to come forward and lead the discussion. And then at the end of that, we'll be asking for action to set a public hearing date at your next regularly scheduled council meeting of August 8th.
Okay, good. Director Hahn.
Governing body members, good evening. As always, give me 1 second. Technology. All right.
Okay.
This evening, I'll be giving you an overview of our Consolidated Action Plan for 2018. As you are aware, our budget process for the upcoming fiscal year for our HUD funds runs concurrently with the city budget process. So we'll have an overview this evening of what we are planning for 2018, and then I will be asking you guys to vote to set a public hearing on the same night as the city budget's public hearing. So, to begin with, why do we need a plan? You're familiar, we have a 5-year planning document that's a much broader plan that we submit to HUD. Then annually, we submit a much more refined plan to HUD. It's approved by this body first, and it will actually be submitted next year after our funding is allocated. But it gives a much more detailed description of resource allocation and programming that we plan for the community. In addition to that, it's an assessment of our affordable housing and market conditions. We determine that through the 1-year American Community Survey data that we obtained from the Census Bureau. And of course, it's required by HUD in order to receive our grant funds. HUD's objectives are availability and accessibility of suitable living environment, affordability, and so decent affordable housing in the community, and then creating economic opportunities in Topeka. Our objectives are a little more specific to the community. We want to enhance the quality of our neighborhoods An example of this would be through the SORT program or the empowerment grants. We also want to increase home ownership, and our Topeka Opportunity to Own program is an example of that, as well as our partnership with Habitat for Humanity for infill owner-occupied homes. We want to enhance housing with supportive services, which that touches on our Shelter Plus Care program, which is a rent subsidy program for people with severe and persistent mental health issues or substance abuse issues. And it's tied to supportive services and counseling services that those folks receive. And then, of course, we love to leverage other resources in the community. So not only do we leverage the capital improvement plan dollars, but I touched on the partnership with Habitat for Humanity. When we work together, we can always accomplish more. So the grant funds that are included specifically are the Community Development Block Grant, Emergency Solutions Grant, Shelter Plus Care, and then our Home Investment Partnership funding. Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership funds are focused on the housing infrastructure in the community. So we're using that for housing rehabilitation, accessibility program, voluntary demolition, infill housing, and then, of course, infill housing development with partners such as Habitat for Humanity as well as Cornerstone of Topeka. Major rehabilitation is part of our SORT program, and just to touch on that, the housing rehabilitation and major rehabilitation, we just had a meeting out in Highcrest this afternoon to talk about the progress that we've made. Some of you are aware that we have a pretty big coalition working with us on the SORT program in Highcrest, and I am delighted to announce to you that the city has accomplished 19 rehabilitations in Highcrest as part of our SORT program, and Habitat has accomplished another 7, so a total of 26. I'm quite confident in telling you that the 2 prior SORTs combined didn't have that total of rehabilitation work. So just a good example of how, when we work with our partners, we accomplish so much more. So the Emergency Solutions Grant and Shelter Plus Care Grant are both focused on actually helping people either keep or gain housing opportunities in the community. I touched on Shelter Plus Care as a rent subsidy. We also do rapid rehousing if you've been evicted, rental assistance, and then shelter funding as needed. Our citizen involvement process, we had service provider meetings in our offices with our partners in the community. We had public meetings where we announced to the public that they could come and talk to us about our 2018 plan. I failed to include on this the meeting that we had with the Citizens Advisory Council, so I do apologize for that. We had that meeting in May, I believe. And then we had a public comment period as well. And we are requesting that our final public hearing be set for August 8th. And that is the end of my presentation. I would be delighted to answer any questions that you have.
Well, thank you for the presentation. These are very important programs, and in a sense, sometimes we know less about them because they're federal funds that come through that we administer, but they're vital, so important to these areas of the community. And then the role here is to set a public hearing for that next step. Questions, comments on the program? Councilman DeLisla. Move to establish the public hearing date of August 8, 2017. Councilman Jensen seconds. Any discussion of this? So we'll have an opportunity then to discuss again or answer other questions. Okay, we have a motion and second. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the public hearing date is set. We go then to item 5G.
G is a motion to suspend governing body rule 2.10, which requires that governing body meetings be televised for purposes of providing city force staff members the ability to leave the LEC once the governing body goes into executive session.
Okay, I'd ask the city attorney to again, just provide an overview of what we're doing.
As you know, Council Rule 2.10 requires that governing body meetings be televised. There is the ability per Robert's Rule to suspend those rules, and if you wish to do so, that would excuse the City 4 team from having to stay the entire day on July 22nd.
Okay, and as you know in our discussions, that it is hoped or planned that we would come to a decision in that day of perhaps 2 finalists. However, they would not be announced after that date. So when we come out of that executive session, we would not be going back into a meeting to handle business. But so therefore, we see there would be no sense. I mean, they can be there for us to open, and then we go through the day and we close. Councilman Hiller?
Mayor, I don't understand why they need to be there at all.
Well, I can agree.
So could we just excuse the entire meeting from televising?
Yes, we could.
You could do that if there's going to be no action taken, particularly at the end of the meeting, as I understand that's going to be the case. They
So all
don't
we-
need-
So, I mean, to convene the
Period.
meeting, what's the point?
As a special session, we go to an agenda item. We have no other business, so we would go into executive session for that business item. Councilman Jensen?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would agree with Councilwoman Hiller, and since it's my motion, I'm happy to accept that friendly amendment. There's really no reason for them to be there at all, just to turn on the TVs and turn them back off. So with that, I will move to approve that.
All right.
Can you all take care of the wording that's needed for that, or do we need to
make
work
the-
with it? To just excuse them
revise
for the entire?
Yes, I think we need to, if you all will vote on the amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
Could you give us language?
You made an amendment, didn't you? You moved to amend.
Well, I guess this is a separate, I moved to add this to the agenda, didn't I?
Period.
So I would move to,
Period.
I guess, introduce this as amended then.
Yes, basically what it read before was motion to suspend Rule 2.10, which requires the governing body meetings to be televised for the purposes of providing city board staff the ability to leave early. You could just end it at motion to suspend Rule
agree.
2.10, which requires the governing body meetings to be televised.
Bingo.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. There's no reason
You
for
so
them to be there.
move, and Councilman Schwartz seconds. Councilman Harmon?
Thank you, Your Honor. Lisa, do we need to, maybe I'm getting confused with the way we used to do things, but do we need to first have a motion to suspend the rules and then consider the actual rule that we're considering suspending?
Yes, you should suspend the rules first.
All right.
That's 6 point, the other.
I thought we did that in order to add it to the agenda.
I thought we did too, but it's not on there.
I see.
To add it, you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we ever reinstated it.
So the motion to suspend is Rule 6.2H. So it'd be a motion to suspend Rule 2.10.
So you want to suspend the whole rules first?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
So let's
got it.
withdraw this motion that we haven't voted on, and Councilman Harmon, would you move?
Thank you, Your Honor. Subject to further clarification by the city attorney, I would make a motion to suspend Rule 6.2, parentheses, little h, end parentheses. Is that correct?
Well, the motion to suspend is 6.2H, gives you the ability to suspend. So I would read the motion to suspend Rule 2.2, or to waive Rule 2.10, which requires televising in conjunction with the motion of Rule 6.2H. I don't know that you have to suspend the rules altogether.
Oh, I see. So she's saying the motion would be to suspend the
Rule
rules to do this.
2.10, yeah.
So it's, we suspend, and then in the same motion, we are taking the action.
For Rule 2.10, and then the separate action for the other rule.
All right. Which
There's
is?
two different action items.
All right. Now, state that again.
Let's
so that
take
we-
one at a time.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question about
Okay,
that, too.
question?
Sure.
So does that also include excusing the city attorney and the city manager?
No.
Or are those
No,
two separate?
that's the second,
That's
that's
the
action
Okay,
item
okay,
5H.
Yeah. So would you want to state what this motion should, how it should be stated?
Sure. Okay, let's say, do we need to put that as a separate action item up in there?
Jennifer?
Do you want the 2.10? That's the 2.10 up there.
Yeah, but I think we need to bump it up ahead. The motion to suspend, 6.2H.
Okay, so that one is.
Bump that up. So I would have it read, the motion would be to suspend Council Rule 2.10 pursuant to Rule 6.2H, unless you have done it in a different manner before, and I'm obviously open to doing it differently. Do you want to just suspend the rules altogether?
Well,
There's a whole
Go ahead.
separate item for that here, so we could do so.
in years past,
That's dangerous.
we would simply have a motion to suspend the rules, period. And then if that passed, then we would then take up in a subsequent motion to suspend Rule XYZ. And if that passed, then there would be a subsequent motion to reinstate the rules. You would have a motion suspending the rules. You would take whatever action you're going to take, and then you backstop it or bookend it with a motion to reenact the rules. So we would do it for one suspension. There would be three separate.
Okay.
But
Three separate motions for item 5G, three separate motions for item 5H.
yeah,
Right.
is that where you call Sylvia?
Ortiz?
To suspend the rules to add item such and such and such to the agenda. So you're stating why you're suspending it to add,
Right.
okay? You just said to suspend, but to suspend and then say why,
Right.
then we vote on it and then reinstate the rules, correct? The only thing you missed was why.
Okay.
Which was the
Yes.
reference to 2.10.
Absolutely.
Right, I understand.
Okay.
Let's just rush forward, and we're going to do this.
But we got to do it right,
Someone's
Mr.
there,
Mayor.
we'll correct it next week. So we have a motion to suspend the rules.
But we,
Well, first, who was the
And the purpose to suspend the rules is to
Do things.
To suspend Rule 2.10.
Right.
All right, all right,
Which requires televising meetings.
all right. And there's a second. Councilman Emerson seconds. To suspend the rules requires a two-thirds majority. Any discussion? You have a motion and second. Councilwoman Schwartz.
I'm so sorry, Your Honor. I see on the schedule that we're supposed to meet again on Monday, the 24th at 5:30 PM. And if that is when discussion is going to conclude and action is going to be taken, I'm not going to be here on the 24th, and I have said that before.
Okay, yes.
So I just want to make sure if we're suspending the rules, we're not taking action on Monday.
All right. Yeah, and actually, that's going to be another item to just mention, but, okay. Doesn't necessarily pertain to this. We're voting now to suspend the rules. All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the rules are suspended. Councilman Jensen, do you want to move?
I move what she said.
All right, which
Stay.
is to
No, suspend.
Oh, now
2.2.
we're back to
2.10.
2.10.
We're
To suspend Rule 2.10, which would require televising council meetings.
All
So if
right.
you suspend that rule, then they won't be required to be
okay. Is there a
televised.
second? Councilwoman Claire seconds. Any discussion?
Shouldn't we just say for the 22nd?
Okay, for July
We're making this more
22nd.
difficult.
Okay,
It needed
for
to-
Saturday, July 22nd.
yeah,
Okay.
everybody's clear on that.
That's okay with your motion. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
And having voted yes,
Now we need to-
the motion is approved.
Now we need,
Now we can go on, could we go on to item H? While
yes,
the
because the rules are
suspended?
suspended.
And if you would read, clerk would read.
H is a motion to excuse the city manager from the July 22nd special meeting as provided by and in accordance with Charter Ordinance A255 and Council Rule 2.5B.
Okay, you've heard the reason. Councilman Emerson moves to approve. Councilwoman De La Isla seconds. Is there any discussion? It's on July
22nd.
22nd. Okay, all those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, this is a resolution.
No, it's just.
It's just a motion.
It's a motion. The motion is approved.
Just a motion.
And now we need a motion to
Reinstate.
reinstate the rules. Councilman Harmon.
Motion to reinstate the rules.
Okay, it's been moved. Councilman.
Wait. There are 3 actions here that need to be,
No, they do not, the others do not need council approval. Is that correct?
Are we going to open and close the rule for every action?
No.
No, it was only these 2 motions. It was
Okay,
to not
all right.
televise and to excuse the
Well, I
manager.
misread the memo, then I apologize.
Yeah, well, actually, and the other one has to do with the city attorney is not required by charter to be here, so it's not the same. We don't have to take action to make that change. Councilwoman Hiller.
Before we put the rules back, we do have this potential meeting on Monday, the 24th.
Right.
Which would likely be televised at the start and the finish, but for which we would also excuse the city manager while we're at it.
Yes.
We could do that night. I suspend the rules and do that evening if we meet.
Yeah, and actually, I would suggest we do that because from our discussion, there was a strong consensus that we wouldn't need that meeting, that we were
Okay.
going to finish our business on Saturday night. That's a standby in case, for
Okay.
whatever reason, we
That's
don't,
fine.
so we could leave it at that.
That's fine, just checking while
Yeah,
we're at
that's
it.
good. We have a motion
Mayor,
and second.
I'm sorry, Mayor, just to interrupt. There's going to be no action taken on Saturday, correct?
Correct.
When you come out, okay.
Correct. That's
Just want to
correct.
clarify that.
Well, then when would we take action?
It would have to be then on Monday, if we have that special meeting.
You just said we weren't going to have it.
Well, I know, I said, the group says we're not going to have that meeting, but in case we need it, it has been said we announce, because we have to, have 4 days announcement before we can have a special meeting. If something should happen Saturday that we don't get done, we can say we're going to have a meeting Monday night. But on Saturday night, if we finish our work, we don't have the need for the meeting can be canceled on short notice.
If I could finish then, if we are going to make a decision formally and make an offer to a prospective city manager, don't we need to have a business meeting or not?
We would not have that on Saturday night because if we come with, say, 2 finalists, then the process begins of meeting with the individuals to see the negotiating that would be going on. We can discuss some of that in the closed meeting about giving some general directions, but it would not be that specific until we hear back from those individuals. And so there would probably have to be another special meeting sometime relating back from what their responses are.
Okay. That's not what I understood as to where we were going with this.
Okay.
I thought we were trying to bring it down to a decision.
On Saturday night? Well, by a decision, I think the consultant from the firm recommended that we have like 2-3 finalists by the end of Saturday night.
Okay.
And then he proceeds to meet and discuss with them and comes back with a recommendation on where they are and start this process of negotiations.
I see. Thank you.
Councilwoman Claire. Does that reflect about Councilman Schwartz?
Thank you, Your Honor. If that means that we are reducing from 5 to 2 and then decide how to proceed with those 2, I would be back then on Thursday and would appreciate a meeting for the final decision.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
thank you.
very good, thanks. Okay, we have a motion before to...
I need a second.
The second was Isa. A motion to return to rules, council rules. All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
We have 10 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the rules are now back in place. That completes the action items for this evening. We now go to the non-action items and things of more interest. I'm glad you could be here while we have an exercise in parliamentary process. We do this when we have special guests. I like to have these. Okay, if the clerk would read.
A is discussion related to an overview of the Wheatfield Village project at the northwest corner of Southwest 29th Street and Southwest Fairlawn Road.
Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. As you noted, I think we're all glad to be moving on to a complicated multi-million-dollar project rather than parliamentary procedure. We're excited for a number of reasons. First off, we've talked about this project for off and on for a while, and I think every time we talk about it, there's excitement anticipated with how the project's going to unfold and what we're going to see in terms of that development and what it's going to mean for Topeka. And I think we're going to get some of those details tonight, and we're especially excited about that. We've had a lot of good conversations about this with our staff and with the developer staff as recently as this afternoon, another good conversation where we talked through some issues. So tonight, it is their intent to bring forward some more details of the project to share with the body and to share some of their vision for what the project might mean. So with that, I would ask Bob Johnson, who's representing the group from Pulcinelli, to come forward and give his presentation.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Mayor and ladies and gentlemen of the council. Good to see all of you again. Reintroduce myself, Bob Johnson with the Pulcinelli Law Firm, here on behalf of the developer tonight, 29 Fairlawn LLC, represented by Jim Fossman, its principal. Also with us tonight from our development team, in-house counsel Jennifer Sork, Matt Pennington and Ian Mooseman from Drake development consultants on the project. I believe Dave Olson from that organization is here as well. And Greg Schwartz, the architect working on the project. My partner, John Peterson, is also here tonight. We're both working on this project and helping to move forward in the process with you all. We are also pleased tonight to have with us our tenants and partners on the project, and we want to introduce those tenants and partners in a minute and make them the star of the show and have them speak to each of their businesses and their vision for what they're going to bring to the project. Before they come up, though, if you would indulge me for a minute to set the table for them, provide an overview of the project and the process moving forward. We're here to address, in particular, the economic development financing requests associated with the project. As you know, the governing body created the TIF district for the Wheatfield Village site on June 26th. We are here tonight in this work session to move forward with a request that August 8th you call a public hearing for the date we've identified at this point being September 12th to consider our first project plan for Project Area 1 within the TIF district, as well as creation of a community improvement district associated with that economic development financing request. The project here, just as a reminder, located at the northwest quadrant of Fairlawn Road and 29th Street, obviously located here along the highly visible I-470 corridor. And it is because of that location and the visibility and the importance of the site to the city and to its citizens that Jim Klossman developed this concept and identified this site as a critical and perfect site to bring a modern mixed-use development. He believes that that is the right approach for the site, which obviously is inherent in its name. It's a mixture of uses that work together symbiotically to create a whole. Not just a commercial site, not just a residential site, but all of these uses working together, whereby people that live there, people that are staying there, people that are living in the general community will come and patronize each of the components of the project, and we believe buoy it to success. Obviously, there are some challenges with the site to bring it to fruition to what we believe it will be. Here are two pictures of the current condition of the site. Obviously, it's poor. We all know that. Everybody is familiar with that. Everybody's familiar with the decades-long deterioration that's occurred out there. Some of you may have bowled there, may have gone to, patronize some of the businesses there in the past that have been reduced to their foundations today. What we have today, as you know, are a couple of low-slung, one-story multi-tenant buildings that are highly vacant and that are not in good condition. And so as a result, we're going to need to demolish those buildings, set the site for the new development. Associated problems that were tied to those buildings, including utility relocation, traffic improvement, costs that are going to be part of the project that we discussed last night with the Planning Commission. And I do want to note, we had a very positive reception last night with the Planning Commission and had our PUD approved unanimously, which was an excellent buoy to moving the project forward and something we're very excited about. The first step to commence the revitalization at the site will be dedication of land in the northern portion of the site to connect the Shunga Trail right along the northern boundary of the site. As you know, the Shunga Trail leads in from each direction, and we believe by adding a connection parallel and directly bordering the uses on the site, the people living, staying, and patronizing the site, as well as the surrounding community, will enjoy that recreational amenity and will be able to interact with the site as well as enjoy walking their dog in the morning or going for a bike ride in the evening. Here is a more conceptual 3D rendering of the site, just to give you some perspective. It is truly my honor to be able to introduce some of these tenants, walk through who they are, who our partners are. This really makes my job a whole lot easier. I've never been involved in a project that at this stage in the development is fully filled with tenants and partners. This is an anomaly, which is, I think, a testament to Jim Klossman. It's a testament to his vision, and it's a testament to the location of the site and the concept that has been developed to date. I'll start in the northwest corner of the site. This is the multifamily residential dwelling. It is a modern wrap style. As you can see, the building are, wrapped around a structured parking garage. Structured parking being an amenity that today's residents looking to live in this sort of new urbanism, community strongly desire. Also leads to the ability to have some efficiency on the site and to be able to park the people that are going to live at that building in the structured parking garage directly adjacent to their units. We will be partnering with EPC on this project. They are certainly the preeminent multifamily developer in the Kansas City, Northeast Kansas region. In the last several years have produced some very successful projects and have worked with Jim in the past and developed some nice projects out in the Johnson County area in particular. Moving to the northeast, we have the multi-story hotel here. Obviously, this is another anchor of the project. It is located along the central promenade within the project. It's something that people, when they're entering the site, either from the 28th and Fairlawn location of ingress, egress, or in the event our break and access request is approved, coming from the south as well, will lead right to that hotel, and we believe will be of an excellent aesthetic quality that will be something that will catch the eye right as somebody's entering the site, and will be a point of pride on the site for people that are visiting there and for people that are living adjacent to the hotel. The remainder of the uses on the site are complementary to those two uses. They are, the vision for each of these components was when people are living here, when people are coming to be our guests at the hotel, for those that live in the general area, what are some gathering places? What are some places that people want to patronize at many times of the day? The concepts that were identified and really through relationships and coming not only with an idea, not only here's what it could be, here's who it could be. And we want to get to that, of course, as I said, in a second, but I'll identify who they are here right off the bat. You can see here are the two restaurant pads along Fairlawn. The one to the north there, we're looking here from a southeasterly angle. The one to the north and the one just south of the hotel that you can see in the background is a multi-tenant restaurant pad. It contains two tenants, the PT's Coffee, which, as you know, is a local brand, local homegrown, local founded, and local owned. Received national awards, has multiple locations now, is growing, is really booming. They have chosen this for their western Topeka site and believe that it will be something that the residents and the guests at the hotel will patronize probably daily, we would imagine. Adjacent in the same building is a Spin Pizza concept. Spin Pizza is also a northeastern Kansas founded and owned company. It is a company that has many locations in the Kansas City metro area, has a Lawrence location, but it has not yet set its roots in Topeka, but has identified the Wheatfield Village site as the ideal location for bringing its fast casual concept. Moving south of that, as you can see here in the forefront of your picture, a Johnny's sit-down restaurant. Many of you, or maybe all of you, have patronized a Johnny's restaurant before. They have numerous locations, I believe 10 in Kansas City and Lawrence areas. It's founded in Lawrence in 1953, is that right? And it is obviously a concept that it's a family restaurant that people will come from the surrounding community to bring their families there for dinner, for lunch. It's also a kind of place that people staying at the hotel with their coworkers will want to come and watch a Royals game after work. And people that work in the surrounding area, we expect to do the same. It is, we believe, complementary to the use you see behind it. That is a B&B 9-screen first-run movie theater. Obviously, we think people will have dinner at Spin or at Johnny's and walk over and see a movie. They'll make an evening of it. B&B, we'll have them come up and speak in a second, but I do want to just let you know that this is the 7th largest movie theater chain in the country, have an excellent resume. They are founded in Gladstone, Missouri, believe it or not, a local company as well, and they've really expanded over the past numerous decades into what they are today. This is another look here coming from the west, I believe, looking west rather. We have the Johnny's and the PT's Spin, and then the theater behind that. Closer up look of the PT's coffee rendering, and some of the design characteristics that Greg and his team have identified alongside Jim as desirable for the look of the project. Another look at the Johnny's. Here at this point, I'd like to bring up a representative from B&B Theater to speak about their business and their concept and the vision for the project.
Thanks. My name is Brock Bagby. I'm the 4th generation of B&B Theaters. My great-grandpa actually started the company in 1924 in Salisbury, Missouri. Over the course of 93 years, we have grown substantially through slow and steady growth and 4 generations of family involvement. And a couple years ago, we acquired Dickinson Theaters, which was a chain out of Kansas City, where we doubled our volume overnight. So we've really grown. We now have 50 locations, 400 screens in 7 states, which makes us the 7th largest chain in America. Particularly in Kansas, we have 10 locations all around. Closest would be Shawnee, Kansas, or Junction City, Kansas. But our newer concepts and between remodels and new builds are these, the luxury movie theater. I'm sure several of you have tried it out somewhere, but there is not that in the Topeka area. And we're really excited to bring this luxury 9-screen theater that will have all recliner, reserved seating, full kitchen, full bar, a really upscale movie-going experience that caters to everyone, but is definitely a little bit more of an elevated upscale experience. Lots of first for the area that we will be announcing, slowly at a later date, but there will be some exciting announcements and some exciting things to see. If you want to get a taste of what this theater might have, I encourage you to go check out our Shawnee location in Shawnee, Kansas. We just did a $6 million remodel there, and it turned out really, really neat and has similar seating and concepts. So feel free to check it out, and we really are looking forward to working with Mr. Klossman and with all of you on this project. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Fred Bolton from PT's. We're especially excited about this project for a lot of reasons. It's exciting for us because it brings us back to the west side where our roots were kind of from. We've had several locations on the west side over the years. Some of you are very familiar with our college location because I see you there all the time. But we're really excited because it would bring us back to the west side, and it also gives us the opportunity to do a drive-through in Topeka. We've looked for locations for years throughout Topeka for a drive-through, and this is a great opportunity to do that. But the other thing that it brings together with us is the residential concept. This will be our 4th location we're working on now that has some kind of component attached to apartment buildings. And what we've seen is these apartment buildings have become communities again. People are going back to apartment buildings from single residential homes because it creates a community. And we're really excited about that because the other tenants are all really exciting tenants. Spin Pizza, who's going to be in our building, is a great company. Check out their store in Lawrence. It's beautiful, and it's a really wonderful company. So we're really excited because this kind of brings us back home to the west side, an opportunity we've been waiting for, plus it's just a great fit with what we've been doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Jay Ferguson. I'm with Ferguson Hotel Development. My partner Jeff Sharp is here as well. Ferguson Hotel Development was actually founded by my father, John Ferguson. He was one of the original 17th franchisee from Marriott, who primarily developed Marriott, Hilton, IHG product hotels. And we have developed about 12 hotels. We have 2 more under construction right now. We're really excited about this project with all the amenities that it offers, a limited service Town Place Suites hotel. And we're just really excited to be part of this project with Mr. Clausen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. My name's Louis Reeder. I'm one of the partners at Johnny's Tavern, been there for over 35 years. We have developed from a location in North Lawrence to now we have 8 locations. We're building our 8th location in Kansas City along with the 2 locations in Lawrence. We've been looking for an opportunity to be involved in the Topeka community for over 7 years of look at locations downtown all the way out to Wanamaker Road. And then we were showed this opportunity on Fairlawn by Matt Pennington, who works with Jim Klausman. We're really impressed with what these guys are putting together. And we're really looking forward to be a part of this opportunity and looking forward to being a part of the Topeka community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, as I said when I got up here initially, I want to give an overview of the economic development financing requests associated with the project, give you an idea of what we're requesting and working through with staff right now and where we'll be headed from here. So as you can see, the estimated cost of the project is $93.2 million. The private investment of $75.3 million, which is about 81%, would be shouldered by the developer, Jim Klausman. Approximately $17.9 million is what we're projecting will be produced in tax increment financing and CID revenue over the course of the statutorily available periods for those tools, and that's about 19% of the project. Now, this is requested on a pay-as-you-go basis, and this is obviously a critical point. We're not requesting any bonds. We're not requesting TIF bonds. We're not requesting CID bonds. This would be something explaining pay-as-you-go a little bit more in detail here. Whatever is generated by our project on an ongoing basis annually, that is what can be used for statutorily eligible costs, reimbursing those statutorily eligible costs. It is only the increment on top of the base that is there today for the TIF that can be used to reimburse those costs that is generated solely by the Wheatfield Village project. The CID is an add-on sales tax, again, only upon retail sales within the Wheatfield Village project. And I'll show you here our proposed boundary for both the TIF Project Plan 1 project area and the CID district. Those boundaries are coterminous. As you can see, it includes only the Wheatfield Village site and the surrounding right-of-way in which work would be proposed to be completed. It does not include any of the pad sites east of Fairlawn, as you can see, nor does it include any other private property not owned by the developer. Now, we're working, as Doug said, diligently with staff to work through our financing application that is before them as we speak. We know that we have a burden to bear, and that is to prove that this project would not occur but for the granting of the incentives that we're requesting. We're confident that we'll meet this burden. We're confident that we'll turn this project into something special, and the primary reason for that is a homegrown local developer that's had a business in your community, a booming, successful business for 40 years here in Topeka. This is a man who's committed to Topeka. This is a man who has a vision for what he wants to do here. And I'd like to invite Jim Klausman up now to say a few words.
Thanks, Bob. We have been in the community for a number of years now. 40 years ago, we started our company, Midwest Health.
And this, actually, our first office was in one of those pictures you saw at the front. So we've come a long way, and actually looked just as bad 40 years ago. So this corner has not changed much in a number of years. It's, in fact, deteriorated quite a bit. This is a high-profile corner in Topeka. We saw the opportunity. We liked the area because of our roots as Midwest Health. We went ahead and purchased that property, and for the last 2 years, I've been asked constantly, what's going on at 29th and Fairlawn? Well, tonight, I think you're finally getting an idea of what's going on. The theme is really family for us, and we heard that, I think, this evening with all of our partners. These are people that are Northeast Kansas people that have strong family ties, some through more generations than I have with our business. And really, we're committed to making this a top destination point for Topeka. Very walkable, very livable, work, live, play kind of area that Topeka does not have right now. This does not mean that we're not interested in other parts of Topeka. We're fully committed to downtown Topeka. We have buildings all over Topeka, in fact. So our commitment is to Topeka as a whole, not just to one area. But this is one area that we've noticed for a long, long period of time that was neglected, that really needed a lot of help. This is not a small development by any means. It's a large development, and that's why we're here asking this to be a private-public partnership. Jim Klossman does not have $75 million, by the way, so we will have a lot of banks and other folks that are invested, but this will take a lot of our equity to get this going. And we're just asking that the city be involved as well, that this will be, I think, an outstanding project that will help the whole entire city going forward, that I think you'll be extremely proud of, that you'll be proud to take your family there, you'll be proud of Topeka's, or proud of other people outside of Topeka to come to and stay. So again, I appreciate your time. It took a while, but it's a big project. It's a very hard project, probably not as hard as your vote tonight, but it's one that we're very excited about and hope that you're excited as well.
Okay, thank you. Well, no, I was, go ahead. You continue.
I'll be around. And that's what I was going to say, is that we're all here to answer any questions you might have specific to anybody in particular. I'll stand up here and field the questions I can. And as I noted at the beginning, the next item that we would move forward in this process would be August 8th, asking you to call a public hearing for the TIF project plan and for establishment of the Community Improvement District. I actually neglected to note one component of the site here that I will note because I think it's a pretty unique, really cool feature that's also going to work with the other uses. That's a farmer's market in the southeastern corner of the site. That's that red roof. You may have had a question about that.
What's the red building?
I knew it was coming, so I thought I might head it off at the pass. But here to answer any questions you might have following our presentation.
Well, the question I was going to ask is, and it's maybe between you and the city, what are the steps, what are the decision points you'll be coming to us? You were going to establish a hearing, and that hearing is for, and make it very elementary, what the steps we're going to be going through.
It's a great question. So the statutory process is that first a public hearing must be called for both adoption of the TIF project plan and establishment of the Community Improvement District. So that's merely a statutory step that doesn't require any commitment whatsoever to any incentive financing by the governing body. That will be a dual action that we would request on August 8th. The TIF requires 30 days thereafter waiting period before the public hearing itself. The CID does not require that, but we would marry them up and we'd be hearing them on the same night. So we've identified at this point, as part of our proposed schedule, September 12th as the date that we would come back for that public hearing on both the TIF project plan and the Community Improvement District adoption. And in that interim period, we'll be working with staff on exactly what that financing package that we will present at that meeting will look like for your decision at that time. Again, we've provided some details tonight. It will be a pay-as-you-go package. We're not going to be requesting that you issue any bonds, but it will be the request to have the right, and we know it's a privilege, to be able to capture what we're going to produce from our site and be able to reimburse statutorily eligible costs as a portion of the project.
So on August the 8th, we will see the TIF proposal?
It would be our intention that the final full proposal would be before you at the public hearing on September 12th. as we work through this with staff, so we can come to really a full package. And we believe, and we would like to have a development agreement with that process as well, that would include the terms that would govern, the rights, duties, and obligations for the developer in the project.
Okay. Councilman Jensen?
Thank you, Your Honor. So the big question on everybody's mind is, when do you plan to get started? And then once you get started, how long do you think construction is expected to take?
It's a great question. Our intent would be to start as soon as humanly possible after we get the approval. I don't have an exact date, but I think earlier it was September 13th, if we can. And that's obviously not putting footings and foundations in the ground. There are permits to be had and other processes, of course, but we want to start clearing that site, cleaning up that site immediately as soon as we know that we have our incentive financing approvals, so we then can move forward with closing on private financing approvals that Jim referred to that will enable, in earnest, the major development portion of the site. But as if we get through this process in September 12th, hopefully we're asking for your favorable vote at that time. We would like to begin work immediately on the site preparation portion of the project. As each component begins construction, and we'd like to begin them all contemporaneously. I can't say they'll all be the exact same day at this point, but we'd like to begin them contemporaneously. They have varied build-out times. The multifamily building would take the longest, probably the 18 to 24-month range. Each of the others are probably looking at about a year for completion. So that is something that we're working with staff, and we discussed this in earnest today, to get some dates and a critical path schedule that's an estimated schedule, an anticipated schedule, but a schedule that puts dates proposed to each of those.
So once you all start demolition, your intent is basically to do construction continuously until everything is up and going?
That's right.
And then you intend to bring some of these amenities online in phases, if you will, since so like the restaurants could be open to the public before the housing then?
That's right. Now, there's one important distinction, and that is the traffic improvements will be tied to specific volumes of traffic that can be created here. So we will be working to phase the project to make sure that we properly roll out the traffic improvements on time as well.
So really, if all goes as well, we're looking at 2 or 3 years for this to be completely online?
That's right, with all of the mix and uses here open and operating.
That's excellent.
And there is going to be some major work done on Fairlawn.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That's the city's involvement also. That is our responsibility and working with you. Councilwoman Claire?
Hi. How many family units will there be, and will this be available for low income?
They're proposed to be market rate apartments, and it is anticipated at this point to be 178 units, but the final unit count is not set. That is something that has to be, as we get to construction drawing stage, set firmly in stone, but it'll be in that range, give or take. Really, that's what we're designing to, is really what I should say. Frankly, 178 units is what we've pinpointed at this point.
And it won't be based on income?
No, it will not. They're market rate apartments.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to have everybody stand who's involved in the project. So I know not everyone spoke, but I think this is significant. Thank you, actually, all of you, for your work, participation, working with us. This is exciting, certainly, and we're working with you. Thank you. Okay, Thank you. Yes. Other Councilwoman Schwartz, Councilman Hiller.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is quite an achievement for Topeka, and I really want to commend Jim Klossman, who lives in my district, for this achievement. And not only that, but the fact that it is so transparent. I know at the other end of Wanamaker, we had things going on, and I don't think we as a council knew about all of that development going on until it actually happened. So working with the city, working with the council, that's been great. And Cody Foster and Jim Klossman have some great things happening in Topeka. Cody, with Excel Advisors in my district, has created a problem at the 29th and Fairlawn Road with all the traffic. So I'm hoping that this will actually achieve some of that traffic let up, because I see that there is to I-470, there's a traffic way there. I travel this intersection every day. So I know it is the highest traffic count in Topeka. So thank you so much.
Councilman Hiller?
Thank you, Mayor. Couple questions. We got the number of units on the multifamily, but how many hotel rooms? And are you expecting convention or event facilities as well?
It's being designed to 88 rooms at the moment, and I don't believe there's any convention facility associated with it. It's a limited service, so it'll have kind of a breakfast service associated with it, but it is identified for the limited service style without the convention facility.
Okay, we may still have trouble whenever the games are over from the bars. The other question that I had was about the access. I know that these are engineering marvels when you get them figured out, but it is already highest traffic, and we're adding a phenomenal amount of ingress, egress, and there will be some peak times as well. Could you talk a little more about where you are with that and whether this is even enough in your opinion?
Absolutely. I appreciate the question. This is the primary topic that was tackled last night at Planning Commission. And I will say that we retained who, in my opinion, is the best traffic engineer in the Northeast Kansas area trans systems. They worked exhaustively with Terry Coder, your excellent traffic staff here at City of Topeka, and they agreed upon a traffic study based upon all scenarios that you could possibly consider, that showed at each intersection studied and at each movement studied, there was an acceptable level of service under any circumstance or scenario. So I'll just briefly explain what those improvements might be. There are improvements to Fairlawn that will not change in any case pursuant to phasing or pursuant to whether the break and access request is granted. Those will be a fully signalized stoplight at 28th and Fairlawn, retention of the left turn lane southbound on Fairlawn, addition of a dedicated left turn lane going northbound at 28th and Fairlawn, a raised median moving south from there with a break that allows full access to a pad site east of Fairlawn. In fact, I'll note that no access is being changed to any of the properties east of Fairlawn.
Okay.
We will then, moving south, at 29th and Fairlawn, add an additional left turn lane at 29th and Fairlawn to service the traffic coming from the Wheatfield site that will be headed making that turn movement. On 29th Street, there are two different scenarios. Let me go back and pause for a second. That is phase one. Development of Fairlawn is phase one. And tied to specific traffic counts, we've identified that Fairlawn can be built first, and 29th Street will follow once we've received whether we have approval for the break and access request from KDOT and the Federal Highways Administration, or if we are denied, then we will know we have option B for the 29th Street improvements to be built. And as I said, under option A or option B, the improvements that have been designed would meet acceptable levels of service pursuant to your professional staff and the traffic engineer that we retained as well. Those would be under option A. If the break and access was granted, it would be additional capacity added to the left turn movement heading onto the I-470 westbound ramp and into our site there west of that particular movement. You can see it here. This is not a great representation of what those improvements will look like, but you can see, if I have my mouse, it will be located here in this location. We'll add additional storage capacity for those cars that we believe will be added coming because they'll want to make this movement into the site, and others that will want to make the movement onto I-470. In the event that we do not receive the break and access request, and that is denied, we will add a second leftbound turn lane at 29th and Fairlawn, because we believe, of course, that people will no longer be able to move this way into the site. They will come down to Fairlawn, take a left, and come into one of these two access points. In order to provide for storage capacity for that additional leftbound turn lane, we have an additional lane, storage lane, that will be added west of that I-470 west and 29th Street intersection.
And you've modeled that with all those fancy things, and it works, huh?
Yeah, we have, and we showed a traffic simulation last night at Planning Commission that showed each of these scenarios working. We'd be happy to show that at the September 12th council meeting if you'd like to see it as well.
Okay, I think then we'll be hearing from our Public Works Department too on their approval and their direction of how we'll be going.
Yep.
Well, this is all very exciting. Thank you. See no other questions. And I thank you, Bob, and I say Brad and Fred and Jay and Louie, all of you for coming and sharing with us, and Jim particularly, thank you for your vision and what you're doing. It's very excited and look forward to working with you. Thank you. That completes the discussion item. That's our non-action items for this evening. There is no council meeting for a couple of weeks, so there's no preliminary agenda. We'll go then to announcements. Mr. Interim City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I don't have any announcements this evening. Thank you.
All right. We go then to Deputy Mayor Cohen, to you for announcements.
We have a Diego electric bike brand.
Is his mic on?
So,
mic on? Is your mic on?
sorry, guys. Pedego Electric Bikes grand opening, and they're going to be in Barrington Village on the old mailbox side. So if you guys remember where that is, it's off of Arrowhead. July 27th at 3 p.m. And if you don't know what those are, those are those really neat electric bicycles. So we're going to have a dealer here in town, and this will be their grand opening.
That's okay. They're going to be in Barrington Village location there.
Yeah,
Okay, very
sure
good.
will.
Right off of Shunga Trail.
Yeah, very close to there.
All right.
Yep, and that's all I had.
Okay,
I'll
Councilman Harmon.
see you at NNO.
Okay. Councilwoman Hiller.
We will have the primary election prior to our next meeting, so best wishes for all the candidates, and hope that everyone here and everyone at home will vote. Also, best wishes for Neighborhood Night Out, the 86 participating neighborhoods, and I've got one I'm still pushing to add to the line, is very exciting. That's it, thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Claire.
We have Moto and No-Tow on July 21st in the 800 and 900 block of Northeast Kansas. It's free. And then after that, if you go to Serendipity for $25, you can go on a ghost hunt. That will be fun. And then the Bluebird Diner is now open on Kansas Avenue, and this used to be Patty's Place, who was my kiddos' stepmother. Their mother and father, stepmom and dad owned it, so my kids worked there for many years. So it's a nice place to go. The owners after that have been very good, and I'm anxious to check out the Bluebird Diner.
Good. Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to announce on July 27th to mark your calendars for the free movie at the zoo. The gates open at 6 o'clock. All are welcome, old and young.
That's awesome. All right, good. Councilman Emerson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to point out, over the weekend, there was a great letter written into the newspaper about someone had broken down, just talking about how friendly Topeka was. And also this weekend, a gentleman that moved into my neighborhood a couple of years ago from Phoenix, asking him, why he moved here, and it wasn't for work. He and his wife wanted to retire to a place that wasn't as hot. And this was this weekend he said this. and he just talked about how welcoming it's been. And sometimes in Topeka we don't think of ourselves that highly. And a lot of people, we have a lot of things for a lot of people. So thanks.
Councilman De La Isla.
I would like to express my appreciation again to Safe Streets and all the organizations and neighborhoods that are putting together National Night Out. And I would also like to express my apologies because I had planned a few weeks ago a trip during that weekend, because I think that after that weekend I'm going to need a little bit of vacation. So my hearts will be with the organizations and the NIAs, and I wish them the best.
Councilman Jensen.
Thank you, Your Honor. A couple of quick things. Last Sunday was my one-year anniversary, so I want to publicly thank my wife for supporting me. She's also my most vocal constituent. Hooray. Thank you very much. She's been a huge benefit to me in my life and helped me accomplish all the things that I've done, and it's a wonderful relationship. I also want to echo my shout out to the National Night Out folks. That's a huge endeavor for our community. We're nationally ranked on that. It's something for us all to be very proud about. please get out and see yours, or at least one of them. That's going to be a great weekend. I also want to encourage everyone to get out and vote. It doesn't matter who you vote for, just please get out and vote. That's very, very important to the future of our city. So please do your part to help us guide the next folks. And last but not least, this is high summer and it's very, very hot. Please do not forget about your outdoor pets. They need shade and plenty of water because it's brutal on them and they're covered with fur. Have a lovely week, everybody.
Councilman Schwartz.
I'll be quick. My gem last week, since I wasn't here, is our hospitals and our medical care in Topeka. Dr. Boyd, Howard surgeon, lives at McFarland Farms. It's just a small world, but we were there 5 nights, and we just have a lot to be proud of in Topeka. My gem this week is our own hotelier, homegrown, Jim Parrish and his wife Nancy, who's a judge. We had a wedding reception, had a wedding in the family at the same time the surgery was happening, and I can't say enough good things about that hotel. Ramada and their staff they're just outstanding. So thank you.
I want to say that to the public, as you are aware, that the council will be meeting, actually the community meeting our city manager candidates this weekend, and this Friday, 4:30 to 6, is an opportunity for the community to meet the city manager candidates at the Holiday Building. Please come by, important opportunity, and the council needs to hear from the community as you meet the candidates and visit with them. 4:30 to 6 this Friday evening. That completes the announcements. We had one person who signed to speak in public comment but is no longer here. There is no executive session, so if there's no further business before the council, we are adjourned. Now, who thought